There's a quiet kind of person who doesn't quite fit into the noise of the world. They listen more than they speak. They watch, they notice, and they think. They pause before answering, not because they're unsure, but because their mind is weighing 10 different meanings at once. These are the deep thinkers, the ones who live more in their thoughts than in conversations, the ones who can turn a single moment into an entire universe of meaning. But being a deep thinker isn't just about intelligence, it's about sensitivity. It's about seeing layers where others see surfaces. It's both a gift and a burden. For a deep thinker, thinking isn't optional, it's breathing. They don't just see a tree, they see its roots reaching for the past, and its branches stretching toward possibility. They find metaphors in everything. A silence becomes a question. A glance becomes a story. Psychologists call this high introspection, a natural drive to reflect, analyze, and connect dots that others never notice. Their brains are wired to look for meaning, not to be difficult, but because why feels like oxygen. But that same depth can be isolating. While others react quickly, deep thinkers observe. They stay quiet, waiting for truth to form. And by the time they're ready to speak, the conversation has already moved on. So they stay silent. And that silence gets mistaken for disinterest. When it's really depth, deep thinkers crave conversations that go beyond small talk. They want to explore fears, dreams, the architecture of emotion. Surface-level chatter feels hollow to them. But their depth comes with overthinking. They replay moments. They dissect words. They wonder what they could have said differently. Not because they're insecure, but because they see meaning in everything. Psychologists call this meta-cognition, thinking about your own thinking. Most people visit that space. Deep thinkers live there. It makes them wise, but also self-critical. Because when you see everything clearly, you also see your own flaws in high definition. Deep thinkers experience what psychologists call existential thinking. They don't just wonder about life, they wonder about existence. They think about time, morality, purpose, consciousness. They don't want to escape the world, they want to understand it. But this kind of mind can feel heavy. When you can see through things, it's hard to stay blind. You notice how people hide pain behind smiles, how perfection is just performance, how everything is both temporary and meaningful at once. So deep thinkers often feel misunderstood. They crave truth, not validation. Connection, not conversation. They'd rather sit in silence, that means something, than talk just to fill the air. A deep thinker feels emotions intensely, but quietly. Their feelings move like waves beneath still water. They can sense tension, hidden sadness, unspoken words. It's not magic, it's empathy. They're constantly reading emotional data, seeing patterns in behavior, feeling things others overlook. But that sensitivity can be overwhelming. They absorb energy that isn't theirs. And that's why they often need solitude, not to escape, but to reset. For them, silence is home. It's where the noise fades, and the truth inside becomes clear again. Deep thinking can become a trap, a storm of thoughts without rest. But the healthiest deep thinkers learn to balance reflection with presence. They realize that not everything needs to be understood. Some things are meant to be felt. Because peace doesn't come from answers. It comes from acceptance. From sitting beneath a sky that doesn't explain itself, but still feels infinite. Deep thinkers may not always fit in, but they were never meant to. They were meant to see through, to notice, to question, to understand. In a world obsessed with speed, their depth is a kind of rebellion, a quiet light, reminding us that meaning still matters. So if you're a deep thinker, don't apologize for your silence. Don't shrink your thoughts to fit smaller minds, because your depth isn't a flaw. It's your gift, and in a shallow world, depth is its own kind of light.